evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Gerard Pratt, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Brian Moore. We're honoured to acknowledge the Honourable Sir Gibbs Salika, Chief Justice, Papua New Guinea, and Lady Salika, and the accompanying delegation. We'd also like to welcome representatives of New Ship Sydney's Maritime Logistics Department, representatives of the City of Coburn sub-branch of the Returned and Services League of Australia, Hamilton Hill, Western Australia. And we also, as always, welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From Western Australia, St Joseph's School, Northam. And from New South Wales, Australian Naval Cadets representing the Waratah Flotilla. If able, I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway lands. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths of floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Francis Commins. Francis Commins was born on the 27th of May 1917, the son of John and Elizabeth Commins of Orange, New South Wales. Known as Frank to his family and friends, he worked as a barman in Sydney as a young man. In June 1940, with the world at war, Commins decided to enlist in the 2nd Imperial Force. He trained in Sydney for some months before moving to Goulburn to continue training. While at Goulburn, an incident occurred and Commins had to have a toe amputated. He recovered at home before returning late in the year. Training in 1941 took Commins to the town of Tamworth, where he was again admitted to hospital, this time with mumps, a common complaint in the crowded conditions of army camps. He recovered in time to embark from Sydney in April, arriving in the Middle East in May. Commins began training to become a signaller, and in June he joined his unit, the 2nd 17th Australian Infantry Battalion, in the port city of Tobruk, Libya, where it was defending against the Italian and German forces. The city had been in a state of siege since April. Allied forces successfully held off the Axis attack, and the siege of Tobruk lasted for over 8 months. In October, the Australians were relieved by the 70th British Division. On the day before his unit was relieved at Tobruk, Commins and a mate from his battalion hitchhiked to the harbour for a swim and a last look at the town. Once the unit left Tobruk, the 2nd 17th Battalion moved to Syria and Lebanon and continued training. In July, the battalion travelled to Alexandria and from there deployed west in readiness for a showdown with the Axis forces. The British-led Allies took up positions around Alamein. Following their withdrawal from Libya, the Allies had a defended line between the Mediterranean Sea in the north and Qattara Depression in the desert to the south. The 9th Australian Division, of which the 2nd 17th Battalion was part, was on the right flank of the Allied position on the coast. In September, German forces attempted to break through the Allied lines. While the 2nd 17th Battalion was not sent into the fight, it was shelled regularly by German artillery. And on the 6th of September 1942, Commins was killed in action by shrapnel. He was 25 years old. Today, Frank Commins' remains lie buried in the El Alamein War Cemetery. His headstone simply reads, RIP. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Francis Commins, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.